Hey everybody, it's me, Chris Herman, here for another episode of On Deck. Today we have Mr. Darren Franks, our digital marketing director here at the agency. Darren's a great guy. He was the first guest on the podcast when we started this over a year ago, and he's back for round 2. We cover all kinds of topics and have a really great time talking about music and art and film and literature. So without further ado, I bring you Mr. Darren Franks. Darren Franks.
Here we go. I'm very excited today because the January transfer window for the Premier League is ending tonight, and my team, Tottenham Hotspur, have picked up 2 players from Juventus that I know of. I don't think it's official as of yet, but I'm very excited. And Harry Kane is staying with us until the summer. Thank you. Most people probably don't know what I just.
Yeah,
said.
I was just gonna say I don't even. I kind of get the fact. What was it like the draft?
In England, I don't know what you can only trade and buy players during 2 periods. The January transfer window, which has less activity, and then the summer, which is like 3 months free for all. And those are the only 2 periods where you can buy and sell your players and send them out on loan, do whatever you got to do. My team is, we have a lot of slackers on our team.
Really?
We haven't been doing well. We had to fire our original manager, and then we had to bring in a new manager who's done amazing. But he's Antonio Conte is a fantastic manager, but he's demanding that we pick up some players. Anyway, we got a couple of good wingers, midfield players. That's where we were lacking. Yes. But Tottenham Hotspur.
Tottenham Hotspur.
Come on, you Spurs. Thank you. They're known as Spurs. Yes.
Now, being that you're from the London metro area, correct?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Where is Tottenham, like a particular area?
It's northeast London. Okay. And it's it's in the it's
Spit it out,
central. Easy for me to say. It's in the suburbs, the outer reaches. Mm-hmm. It's not in central London. London has a lot of soccer teams.
Yes.
Yeah, much like a big metro area here has many. I guess Los Angeles has 2 NFL teams and whatever, but. London has like 5 Premier League soccer teams. We all hate each other with a passion, but it's fun.
So you've got this Tottenham Hotspurs, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, everybody knows Manchester United, right?
That's up north. That's
That's not in London?
That's not in London. Manchester United is a city about 180 miles northwest of,
So what are the London area teams?
The London area teams, the major ones are Tottenham, and that's it. I mean, Tottenham, I'm joking. Tottenham, Chelsea, that's my dad's favorite team.
Okay.
Arsenal, so Tottenham, Arsenal. Arsenal have been falling behind for a few years. Chelsea's number 1. Tottenham is a close second. And there's a couple more, completely going blank. Wimbledon, but that's, they're in like League One now. They're in the minor leagues.
This is. I think for most people this is kind of confusing. It's just like what? I mean, I get it. You got a lot of teams, and
absolutely.
But there's all these different leagues and stuff,
goodness.
and who knows? I mean,
oh my goodness.
And it's not like Manchester United plays Real Madrid, do they?
They can, in the Champions League, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. That's another league. So there's a Premier League, there's a Champions League. Anyway, my team is buying players, and that's all I care about today. And hopefully we win something.
So you're feeling pretty good about it?
I'm feeling okay.
Feeling okay.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah, because...
How you feeling? How you doing?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
The last World Cup, if I recall correctly, England came in second to France, if I remember correctly, right?
We came in third.
Third?
Yeah, we got knocked out in the semis in the World Cup to Croatia, which is a country the size of, this room.
Yes.
And they knocked us out of the semis. But you were probably thinking, much like Brad did when he asked me,
he and I were talking about it. Then he reached out to you and we looked at it.
Right, I figured that
because France did win that year.
They won the World Cup, but last year we were in the European Nations, which is the World Cup, but just for Europe.
Right,
and we came in. Yeah, we lost to Italy on penalties.
In the final.
In the final.
Okay, so but this year, this summer is World Cup. No, this fall.
They're moving it. They're pushing it to November because it's in Qatar.
Right.
It's in the middle of the desert.
I love guitars.
Yeah, I love guitars too.
Sorry, that was just awful. Yes, it's in Qatar, but why did they push the date?
Because of the heat situation.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
The height. I mean, November it's still going to be. It's still going to be very hot. But they're professionals.
Okay, but that's something for us to look forward to this year because World Cup is fun. And
it is fun.
Especially in South Florida because you have such a huge international community here.
Absolutely.
You know, like everybody gets really fired up and it's fun.
It's a melting pot.
Yes.
It's a fantastic...
And we'll have it on here. We'll have the big screen. We'll have World Cup.
So fun last time we did that.
Yes.
So even though my team went out, but it was still fun. It was still fun. Good rivalry, good times. Good times have by all. Hopefully we'll win it. I want to see them win something in my lifetime. Last time we won, England won a World Cup was 1960. The last time we won anything was 1966. So, before my time. I'm afraid. What about you, man? What's I know you're not a soccer guy, per se.
You know, I don't really follow a lot of sports. I know it's kind of weird. I played soccer when I was a kid, and when World Cup comes around, I love watching it.
You're more of a participator in sports because you do a lot of cycling.
Yeah, I like to ride my bike. I like to ski.
Right.
I like, I like that kind of stuff. Individual sports. I was never much of a big team sport guy. Definitely more like kind of doing my own thing. So, yeah, but, I try to keep attention just enough so that I'm not like completely out of the loop on things.
Right.
I fundamentally enjoy watching. I do enjoy watching a football game from time to time. Enjoy watching the World Cup. I like certain aspects of the Olympics.
Right.
Like automobile racing. I like it all. I just don't spend a lot of time watching it,
I'm like you with when it comes to NFL, like American sports. I'm familiar with most of them, so I can have an semi-intelligent conversation with someone. But yeah, I don't follow it religiously. I'll watch the Super Bowl because that's a good time. I believe the Cincinnati Panthers are in it this year.
It'd be the Bengals. Yeah, okay.
And the other one. So,
yeah,
LA. I think LA. The Rams.
Is that what it is?
LA Rams.
It's already decided?
I believe so. Yeah, I had to think for a minute there. But anyway,
here we are. We're sitting here chit-chatting. Today is it's Monday. We did this last week too.
We did.
Yes, we had we'll call it a practice run through. So,
sure.
Darren, this is your second time, but actually probably your fourth time. We've actually had 4 podcasts together. If we go all the way back to the beginning of last year, before the podcast became real, we did we did like a test, you and I.
We did.
Right? And then you were guest number 1.
I was.
And then last week, we recorded another episode of you and I, your second episode, official episode, with which we started off by drinking martinis. We took a break mid-conversation, made a second martini.
Yeah.
And for Chris, that was probably not the best idea. Because I think I think our conversation was reasonably distinguished and dignified to that point. A lot of good banter. We'll revisit some of those topics.
Sure.
The second half of the conversation kind of went off the rails into some topics, and we decided that not as a result of any of your dialogue, but probably more of mine, wasn't the best look. So we said, you know what? We're shit canning that one. So officially, that was our first ever episode where we decided, we're gonna not let that fly.
We're all about perfection, and I tell you what, I wasn't on top of my game. I thought that I can't remember half of it. I got to be honest with you. I don't know what happened.
Well, we covered a lot of topics, and we got into a lot of topics that just aren't worth airing out at this particular time. But what we did start,
I had fun. If that makes sense.
I did too. I had a lot of fun. But in retrospect, here we are again. So this one, let's make this one count, Darren.
Yes.
But what we were talking about, one of the things that we started talking about in that episode that I'd like to revisit a little bit, we were talking about, classic rock, and we talked about how like the 90s are our 60s to some degree because of, the music that we grew up listening to or really got motivated by. But we were talking about the big bands of the 60s. We were talking about the Beatles, the Stones, Led Zeppelin, The Who, Pink Floyd, and how pretty much all of them have around 2, maybe in some cases 3, but the Beatles, you got Ringo and Paul McCartney. The Stones, you got Mick and Keith. Led Zeppelin, you got Robert Plant and Jimmy Page. Pink Floyd, you got, David Gilmour, Roger Waters. You have Nick Mason as well, too. So they've got 3. The Who, you got Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend. But like all of these big bands really only have about two founding members left, and they're all 75 to 80 years old.
Yeah.
And it's like,
puts things in perspective.
Right. You know what I saw? I saw something crazy the other day. It said, hang on a second. Let me get this right. Because 1970, this is 2022. Okay. It said 1970 and 1918 are the same amount of years apart as 1970 and 2022.
No. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Perspective.
Right.
Wait, 1970.
1970.
Okay, I'm gonna work this out in my head with my maths.
And 1918.
Carry the one. Yeah, you're right.
Are the same amount of time apart as 1970 and 2022.
1918 and 1970 are 2. You couldn't have more different periods in the world. That's why that's weird. However, and what's the other one?
70 to now.
70 to now. 70 into now is more similar. We're more right. So I think that's why it seems weird.
Are we, or is it just that because you and I mean, I'm a little older than you, but I mean, like,
wow.
But the 70s doesn't seem like 1918, right? Like 1918 is like, feels like horse-drawn carriages.
That's exactly what it was.
Ford Model T and like that seems really old.
Sure.
Where 1970 doesn't seem quite as old as now, but from a technological perspective, it certainly is. I mean,
yeah, I think that, and 1970, you got to remember that culturally it was still in the 60s. So
right.
Yeah, I think, and I was born in the 70s, and I know of the 70s. They were probably a little bit more backward than we know. You got to remember there was no. There wasn't anything in the. I mean, what did they do apart from listen to music and read books and watch the 3 channels on television?
In 1970?
In 1970, in 1980, it's wow.
It's crazy.
I thought you got it wrong for a second.
I know. When I looked, it was one of those things, and there was another one that I saw. Did you grow up? Did you watch MTV?
Of course.
Do you remember Kurt Loder?
Absolutely.
You know how old he is?
Oh, don't tell me.
76.
Oh no.
Kurt Loder.
Wow.
Like forever is like the perfect brown hair, youthful looking guy.
Does he?
He looks every bit of 76 years old. Not bad, but he's a 76-year-old man at this point in time. Kurt Loder.
But he was always the square one on MTV to me.
He was like kind of
he was the newscaster. He was the Tom Brokaw of right?
Yes.
And then you had downtown Julie Brown and the other Julie Browns. You had the 2 Julie Browns, and then you had what's her face with the short hair, the mousy looking girl. I forgot her name. I loved her. I forgot her name. But yeah, I thought the MTV is how I learned about music. That's how I got into music. That's how so when I was going through my formidable years, when I was like 12, 13, you know how you have that bridge where, you're just a kid, and you're like, pop songs. And I thought rock and roll was stupid. It's for idiots. And then, because I was a little kid.
Right.
And then I saw, it must have been 14, 15, Metallica playing Enter Sandman on the MTV the VMAs, Video Music Awards,
right?
And I thought, wow, and it changed my life for musically, because that's where I transitioned into listening to Nirvanas and stuff like that. So I got my musical education from MTV. Unfortunately, there is no MTV anymore. Technically, there's MTV, but there's no MTV anymore.
Yeah,
they have MTV 20, which might play a music video from Prince once in a while, but it doesn't. There's no MTV. It's all reality shows and it was cutting edge television as well. Beavis and Butthead, Liquid Television. MTV's. Yeah, I mean that's that. There's nothing like it.
Tom worked at MTV.
I know. He's got the original MTV T-shirt.
Yeah, he's
told me stories, man. That's
he was
amazing.
there during when they first really got up and running, which is so cool. But so long ago, and it is amazing when you think like the time windows, like that 1970 to 1918 thing, just seems like so crazy. But it really is. And going back to where I was starting, it's just like these legends of music, all of them from British bands, and
a large amount of them were, absolutely.
Yeah, but you look at it, it's like, okay, that era, I mean, while many of them still are out playing and what have you, but like those guys are going to start dropping off in the next 5 to 10 years, I would imagine, some of them.
Absolutely.
And like, to me, like, thinking of a world with like no Mick and Keith or no...
It would be weird, right? Well, when David Bowie died, that was like, what? No, he doesn't die. He's dead.
Yeah. And the crazy thing was he released an album like his last album, I think it was called Black Star.
Sure.
Came out like literally like the day before he died, and the first song on that album is him talking about being dead, looking down on his body or something. And it was really like, I remember when I listened to that, I was like, whoa, it was almost like he timed it, like he waited until it was out and then...
For sure. I think, I mean, it was cancer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The guy was a terrible smoker. He smoked constantly to the day he died. So that's probably the biggest contributor to it. I don't know. But yeah. And he died relatively young, actually, Bowie. 60s, maybe?
Yes.
But yeah, Paul's still going, Ringo's still going, but yeah, listen.
How at what point in time, how much longer can they really keep going, and
Paul still makes music. Ringo,
yes,
whatever Ringo does, he shows up in other people's videos, I think. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, Paul is, but he's not relevant. Like that's the thing. But
is it me? Am I the only one that's sitting here thinking, like, I would imagine, like, people my parents' age or whatever who grew up on the music, like, that's got to really be like the final like blow. It's just like, oh my God, like, all the most popular, significant musicians and artists from our time are all passing away. Like, even I, is like being 50, I look at that and I think, like, oh my God, what's it going to be like to live in a world where they're all gone,
Right.
We'll have U2 and Metallica still kicking around,
Right. U2, I mean, I don't, if Bono goes, who cares? But I'm kidding. Of course, nothing. But he's a great humanitarian, Bono, and I like a couple of his songs.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's the same iconic stature as
no.
But maybe he.
No. Bono is not on the level of those guys. He may be from a financial success perspective or something like that, but no, we're talking about like the originators of this whole wave, and it's
icons. Yes, the icons of rock and roll. Yeah, that is going to be strange. That is going to be very strange. And there's nothing iconic. So we were talking about the 90s being, for me,
yes,
but there's nobody iconic from that era, is there?
Well, unfortunately, many of them have already passed. Of course, Kurt Cobain was the icon of that era, and I mean that he was as huge as anybody, without a doubt. But he, he checked out.
Kurt Cocaine. I think they're more heroin than cocaine. I've watched every documentary about Kurt Cobain. He was a great wordsmith, brilliant lyricist. I love anything to do with him and Courtney Love. I love the Nick Broomfield documentary. If you haven't checked it out, it's brilliant. It's like 10, 15. It's where he's an English documentary maker. It's got a lot of controversy. He essentially accused Courtney Love of murdering Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, I heard that.
Within the doc, it was unfounded, but it was really, really, really interesting, and they fascinate. And it shows old. There's another documentary as well that came out a few years ago, which doesn't accuse her of being because she appeared on the documentary, but it shows a lot of home footage of them when they were younger, when they just had Frances Bean, when she was a baby. So yeah, I mean, anything like that is fascinating.
Now, what do you find fascinating about
anything that brings me to the Beatles? Get Back, when they're just sitting around talking. A documentary about people, icons, is fascinating to me. You'll never see a documentary of Sir Winston Churchill, in his element, having a chat, because it's too old, But when you're able to see like these living icons sit around just shoot the shit, it's amazing to me. So yeah, I like anything real life like that. I love documentaries.
I do too. Yeah, I enjoy them.
Yeah, true crime stuff I like, but I really like anything biographical There's a great Police documentary. You know, the Police.
Yes.
Sting didn't make it. It's from the point of view of he was the bass player, whatever his name was. I can't remember. They all had blonde hair. That was not the drummer, but the other guy.
Andy Summers.
Andy Summers,
guitar player.
Sorry, Andy. Yeah, fascinating documentary.
Andy's like 75.
I know.
Sting is 70 now.
Yeah,
and that guy is still in incredible shape. Just put out another album.
Sting's awesome. Man.
I've got a man crush on that guy. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Like, that's probably one of the man crushes that I have. I think Sting's just amazing.
He's a cool guy, man.
Super cool. Yeah. You know, so smart. Really great musician. Like
he used to be a teacher.
Yes,
he was a teacher.
And was a jazz musician, for many years before the Police. And so the Police come out. If you listen to their first album, it's very punk inspired and very simple and stripped down.
Yes,
but you watch their musical progression, and you're like, no, there's serious musicianship going on in that band.
Yeah,
massive.
And this documentary really talks about the resentment, because obviously Sting was the megastar,
right?
And I think there was resentment because of it. And it shows, because they showed newer footage, because they did a reunion concert a few years ago. It was massive, but they show behind the scenes of that, and the dynamic is so funny between Sting and the other two, Andy Summers, and who's the drummer?
Stuart Copeland.
There's such a weird dynamic, because Sting is the leader. He's the AMOG, the alpha male of the group, for sure. And he's kind of
Thank you for clarifying AMOG. I've never heard that before.
AMOG, the alpha male of the group.
Okay.
Yes, there's always one. And
soft T, silent T. Alpha male of the group.
Of the group, yes.
AMOG.
Yeah.
Silent T.
Well, yeah, silent T. Yes. Otherwise it would be Amatog. Doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yes.
But what was I saying?
Okay, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. The dynamic of the
Sting's
three
awesome.
of them.
Yeah, and Sting is definitely, and he bullies he bullies the bass player.
He is the bass player.
The guitar player. Andy's the guitar player. Sting's the bass player. A little tiny bit, but there's definitely a power thing there. But Sting's like, he has such a presence.
Yeah,
incredible presence, the guy, and he's talented as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see him. I'm like, he was clearly the leader.
Yes.
And it's not like he was leader just because he was the most popular. Like, by no means, I mean, he is a significant musician. Like, the more I've studied the Police and Sting, and I mean, the guy understands music. Yeah. Inside, outside, upside down, like a real jazz player does.
Absolutely, they were real musicians. These guys, and today's music, I sound like an old fart now. When you're using the harmonizer on the voice and auto-tune crap and all that stuff. I know I sound old now, but I don't know. And even pop music today is not catchy. Pop music, it was always shit for the most part, and a lot of it is.
Yes.
But it at least was catchy. And are there any catchy pop songs anymore?
Well, it's funny. I follow this guy on YouTube. His name is Rick Beatto, and Rick Beatto, for lack of better terminology, is the world's greatest music teacher. Right?
Okay.
He is a studied and accomplished guitar player. Knows jazz and music theory inside, outside, upside down, can play multiple instruments, can discuss music theory. The guy's really talented.
Yeah.
And for the years after, he's always been a musician, but he was a producer, and he has a big studio, or his own studio, and he has a YouTube channel. And his content's incredible. And the cool thing about him, he's 60.
Sure.
I think he's 60. And he does this series, and he does two series that I'm going to reference. One is called What Makes This Song Great.
Okay.
Where he sits and he gets the tracks to a song, and he plays along and shows you how to play the parts, but he deconstructs the song.
Sure. And
says, this is why this song is really great. And he'll go from the most complex progressive rock to some jazz standards, to pop punk. He loves it all, and he understands it all, right? But he also does this series where he does, the top 10 songs on Spotify, and he does a reaction video to it, right? And he'll sit there with a guitar and his keyboard, and he puts it on. He's like, all right, and it'll be I don't know, Lil Nas X or whoever the hell, or I don't even know who it is these days.
Yeah.
I mean, but he listens to it, and every now and then you'll see him, and he's like, okay, no, this has got an interesting part because this chord progression, it goes from the major dominant to minor diminished, and blah 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 blah.
It's like a music scientist,
yes. But he makes it so easy to understand. He's so personable. But most of the times, he's this is a terrible song. Like, it's really like, it's just awful.
Now, I wonder, you said he's 60. Do you think that's an age, a generational thing? Because he is 60. And I'm always worried. I try to be as self-aware, reflective as possible.
Right.
It's like, is it just a generational thing?
I don't think so, because with him,
is it shit?
No, I think some of it is just shit. Like, because I watch him and he legitimately gives all these songs he gives them a really fair shot. And there might be something that's a pop song. It's it's got a hook or a catch, and he's like, no, this is
right.
And it might be what's his name, Justin Bieber, and he's like, actually, this is a really good track, and that's an interesting arrangement. So he's very fair.
Okay.
But he's also fair in calling out the crap.
And he backs it up because he knows his shit.
Absolutely.
I got to check this guy out.
And he'll sit there and he'll put a song on, and like within 2 seconds, he's got all the chords. He's just like, okay, this is in, and he'll tell you what key it's in. I really love the guy. But yeah, it's like, the general consensus is music right now. And he interviewed Sting, and Sting said the same thing.
Right.
Music is very spare. It's very lean right now. There's not a lot of structure. There's not a lot of change. You've got basically like a repeated pattern through the whole song. Yep. A little hook. There's no pre-chorus. There's no
it's all over
dynamic shifts. It's basically just by the numbers.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Some people would say that might be good, I guess, because that's how things evolve. Maybe things have to get worse before they. I'm trying to be positive. Maybe things have to get worse before they get better. I don't know. Maybe because they're changing because it's verse 1, chorus, and then you get the hook and all that. Whatever the names are, I don't know the names of things. I know song and poem.
The bridge.
The bridge. Okay, but yeah. It's weird. Yeah, there's no structure anymore. And I wonder if that's to do with the fact that you don't physically buy music anymore. It's just a digital thing that exists,
Right.
And there's no celebration about somebody releasing a new album, or maybe there is. Maybe I'm so out of it. I don't know. But I know people have releases now on Spotify and Pandora, but it's not the same kind of thing.
Well, and I don't know that anybody listens to like what you're talking about, like when a new record would come out when we were, at that time when music was like, okay, it
was an event.
It's like the new and for us it was a CD at the time, but I still call it an album, and you got it and you're excited about it, and you sat down, you listened to the whole thing. Yep. If it was a record, you looked at the whole thing. If it was a CD or a cassette, you flipped through, you read the lyrics,
cool.
And it was just an experience, and now it's just like a track, and people are listening to playlists on Spotify, and most playlists are curated. So it's like, if you like this band, here's 10 other bands that are like that band, and just and I do that here. Like, we listen to different Pandora stations, and I do like that.
That's also scary, isn't it? Because you're being told by artificial intelligence what you should be getting into, and you're not finding out for yourself. Because I had to find out for my damn self. I know I didn't have a computer algorithm telling me, oh, if you like Metallica's Enter Sandman, you'll like Thunderstruck by AC/DC. Nobody. I had to discover it for myself.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why kids are lazy today. Because everything's done for them. They're thought police, man. It's 1984.
What a bunch of cranky old curmudgeons.
I know,
we are, right?
yeah.
But it's.
I've always been like this, though. I've always been accused of thinking old and that stuff.
Have you?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
Where does that come from?
I don't know. I have no idea. But what are you gonna do?
Hey, what are you gonna do?
Sorry, I watched the De Niro movie over the weekend.
What'd you see?
I watched The King of Comedy. The King of Comedy, I should say.
No.
Brilliant. Scorsese. It's about an obsessed fan. Jerry Lewis is in it, who he's brilliant in it. It's a straight role. He plays Jerry Lewis, but he's a host of a talk show, and Robert De Niro his character's name is Rupert Pupkin, and he's an obsessed fan, and he I won't get into it, but anyway, he kidnaps Jerry Langford so he can get a shot on the show.
Right.
He kidnaps him, tells the police he's got him, he's going to kill him if I don't get on this show, and he gets on the show. But he has no talent, which is what's really funny. He's just an obsessed. It's about obsession. Sandra Bernhardt's in it. She's an old comedian. Yeah, check it out if you want to see. I'm not sure how I started talking about that.
Yeah, it sounds a little dreary.
No, it's funny.
Is it?
Yeah, it's funny.
Oh.
Pathos. If that's a word.
Pathos?
I don't know.
Ethos? Pathos?
Pathos.
I don't know.
Good times. Yes. So music today is terrible. People are dying.
Well, it's this is all in your wheelhouse, Mr. Digital Marketing Director. Like you website SEO,
website
SEM,
person,
paid social, paid search. All this technology has just led us where nobody's going out and buying records anymore. They put a song on to Spotify. They like that song, and Spotify says, "Here's."
I'm aware of the irony, sir. I'm aware of the irony. Yeah, that's interesting too. When I was a kid in school, my job didn't exist. And then the interwebs happened, and away we go. But I'm not a fan of even the AI stuff in what I do per se, because I think it takes some of the personalization out of it. I think I don't want people to think for me. I want to be able to. I don't want Google to create my ads for me. I want to write my own stuff. So I get to be creative.
Right.
I don't know. It's fine.
Well, because you are a writer at heart. You right. Enjoy that. Sure. And so why would you want a computer to just make it for you? Why would I want, a computer to do anything that we do here? Or why would I want a computer to make music? There's something about just the actual art of creating yourself in a natural, authentic way that is just so much more satisfying.
Absolutely. And I think it's, especially in some industries, like the industry we're in, the automotive, it can cause problems, if Google spits out something that's not compliant or something like that. So it has its pros and of course it does make things easier sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't. There's pros and cons to everything. If I think about anything in life that I like, yes.
Do I like a big chain restaurant or a nice, like really well-run, creative, smaller restaurant of good quality? Of course, smaller, well-run, beautiful, good quality restaurant, that's better. Do you want, for the most part, do you want like just super wham bam big mainstream movies for the masses, or do you want like really interesting, sometimes you want that, but or do you want like really well written, intellectually stimulating or very funny in a real way movies? I'd take that. Do I want glossy pop music, or do I want something that's a little bit more raw and feels like it's got more emotional content and real musicians playing music? I want that. It's like, I always want the real thing. I want
sure.
Something that's real.
There is room for both, though. I think that's the great thing about the world we do live in. I think there's so many people in the world.
Yes.
I like a good entertainment as opposed to a film. The Spider-Man movie is just
yes.
It's a toy. It's not a film. It's an entertainment. But it's brilliant. I loved it. But at the same time, I'll watch something like a Wes Anderson movie, like French Dispatch, or the other one, Rushmore. If you've heard of Wes Anderson, he's a very artsy guy.
I think I've seen Rushmore. I'm not familiar with the other one.
Yeah, but yeah, there's room for both. So I can live with both. But yeah, I always want the quality over quantity. Is always nice.
And don't get me wrong, like I agree with you. It's like the world, we need these choices. We need to have it all.
Sure.
But if it came down,
sure.
in most cases, I'm just going to lean to something that just feels a little bit more real, still a little bit more personally crafted.
Not created on a conveyor belt.
Exactly. Not studied by 75 executives and sourced,
focus groups,
grouped and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The stuff that's surprising. I
things always come full circle, though. People don't realize that. Like, modern isn't always necessarily bad, and old isn't necessarily better, because things like Hollywood's done 180s all the time. Like back in the old studio system, they used to churn out these movies like a conveyor belt. Casablanca was one of those movies. It just happened. They just accidentally made an art movie. They didn't even realize, and that inspired the first golden age. And then I think I always maintain that things have to get worse before they get better, and that's what usually that's how again, that's how things evolve. So
well, and that's sort of a theme from our previous conversation that we shit canned. That's a good theme, which is sort of like, you have a sense of optimism where it's just like, things may not be ideal right now, but sometimes they just get worse, and then they, cycle back and
it's about perspective. This kind of thing has, like the COVID thing happened with there's been pandemics before. This is not the first pandemic, and much worse actually. But things got better. And you look at the positives out of this. Medical science has been advanced insanely, and because of the, you got every country in the world spending hundreds of billions of dollars trying to find vaccines and cures and this and that. So that's the one positive.
I think there's multiple positives. I was talking with Dorinda earlier that, you can look at the pandemic and what's some other positives. The other positives are that it changed the dynamic of work. Right?
Yes.
This whole notion that you have to be in the office 9 to 5, 5 days a week is just it's just absolutely not. It's not necessary.
You know what's interesting though? It was already going in that direction, but the COVID pushed it even further. So it was. I don't know. It's crazy.
It just pushed it to the point where people have more flexibility, more opportunity to For example, as we all know here, we're 2 days in the office, 3 days from home.
I think what it did is that it made employers, it brought home the fact that it does work. You can run a remote company and still have a semblance of order and, get people to do shit, because I, as a business, if I was a business owner, I'd be worried if people weren't coming in the office. But there's ways around that.
Exactly. And listen, it gives people the ability to have flexibility in their life to work when they want and need to work, right?
For sure.
For the most part. And also it's like, if I got to handle this, or I need to step out, that you got the flexibility to do that.
Exactly. That work-life balance, it gives people a little bit of that.
It just helps out a lot. So I think that's been a real positive. Technology has continued to advance where people are able to be more creative, whether it's with social media or now, as we've been talking a lot about NFTs and stuff. There's more flexibility and freedom about how people are able to craft their lives right now.
Sure. And
I think that's without a doubt, that's a big positive.
Yeah. And by the way, the news never seems to talk about that. It's always the alarmist. It's like it's scrolling on the screen, and Omicron has become the super Omicron,
whatever it is.
Yeah.
I actually kind of tuned out of the news over the weekend.
You have to.
Which it's just like, okay. I'm like, I feel a little bit better. I haven't really gotten my daily dose of rage.
It is at the point though. I have to cherry pick news now. Like CNN. I think we touched on this in the forgotten tapes, but the CNN has no credibility anymore. They're in the same realm as Fox now. They both are there for. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying they're there for entertainment.
It's a business model. It's a certain type of entertainment in a way for people who like news and have a particular mindset. You can gravitate in one of two directions, and okay. Yeah. Somebody's figured out, hey, there's money to be made in dividing these audiences further and custom tailoring our messages to these audiences. Right. And, I don't think overall it's positive. It is, as some people say, it is what it is. But there's other areas where any one of us can get news. Sure. From people who are. Sure.
Well, I think more than ever, you have to be judicious about what you decide to take in. Yep. So, and I still fully believe we're in that endemic. I don't believe. I mean, we're getting into that endemic phase now. Knock on wood, and I think we're getting there. So
I hope so. Is in England, is the news this divided? Is there this kind of like division in mainstream media and or politics?
I wish I could answer that. I haven't lived there, I believe. Yes, there is. There's no real Fox News per se. Although I think they can probably get Fox News and get anything anywhere now, but it's not the presence it is here. It's Fox, at least they were owned by News Corp, which
Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah. I don't know what he's done with Sky. Sky News was its equivalent. I know Sky News Australia is like Fox is here, but that's in Australia. I see that pop up.
But he's from Australia, isn't he?
He's Australian, yes. Yeah, well, no, technically he's American now because he had to change his nationality to own a.
But he's from. But yes, he is from.
He's Australian.
Yes.
So he's still got the accent, but Yeah, there is a divide there as well, and it's the similar kind of divide. There's the conservative element, and there's the left of center element. It's the same. It's amazing actually how similar that is in terms of culture. We're very similar culturally. We know this. The United States and England, they're very, very, very closely attached. But I try to stay positive with this stuff. Yeah, how can you not?
Well, we have to.
Yeah.
It's been almost 2 years.
Has it really?
Of COVID.
What are we in now?
Everything's almost, tomorrow's February, okay? So,
okay.
I mean, we are seriously coming up on really I think 2 years ago going into February, I was sick for weeks, right? And I thought I had a lingering flu that wouldn't go away. Brad had something crazy at that point in time. We went to Las Vegas for NADA and just, couldn't shake it. And, it's almost like I almost wonder if I had COVID way back then. I definitely had it again, coming up on a year ago. But it's almost 2 years that we've been experiencing this as a world, and I think everybody's just over it.
And to a large extent, I think that the news don't really harp on it as much as they did, because I think people in general are trying to get
just worn out.
It's worn. Yeah. It's tiresome.
Let's get back to enjoying life.
I think if you
doing the things that we love to do.
Do what you got to do to stay safe, or do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah,
just whatever. I think we're in a good place now, a better place, not a good place.
We're lucky we've been in Florida too. I mean, it's. I think
you think.
I do. I think that overall, we haven't been any better or worse than other states in terms of cases and deaths. We're kind of like in the middle.
Sure.
We've been able to be relatively free and open and do stuff here, and it hasn't caused a total disaster.
That is true. Yeah, there have been the lockdowns that have been.
Because people who come to Florida from other states, they get here and they're like, whoa, right?
Yeah.
They are a little bit, but.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, enough of that crap.
Yeah.
Let's just be thankful that, we're still here, we're still operating, we're still working, we're still serving our clients, we're doing what we love to do.
I do feel good about things. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I think things are on the rise, I think.
I think so too.
Positive Darren. Let me get back to being negative. Everything sucks. Everything sucks.
I like
movies suck.
Darren.
Did you see The Mandalorian? Oh, it sucked. Boba Fett's like... Disney Plus shows aren't as good as they used to be.
I tried to get into that. The Mandalorian is a series, right? I watched a couple episodes. I didn't dig it that much, but...
Yeah. I think, but Star Wars works better as a movie. I don't like episodic television. There's exceptions.
Yeah.
I love Sopranos.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. In terms of episodic television dramas, they don't work for me. And I don't want TV shows. Seinfeld is brilliant. I think it's brilliant. Friends was a great show too. Very well written. The English version of The Office was great. If you've ever seen it with Ricky Gervais. And the Steve Carell one got better as it went along. But other than that, I'm not a big TV person. I like reality, like documentaries, true crime stuff,
learning stuff, right?
Learning, anything practical. Making a Murder is amazing. The Netflix documentary.
No, I haven't seen it. Yeah,
that's a brilliant show.
We don't get to watch much around our house. We struggle because. With the young kids around, it's just like, if we want to sit down as a family on the couch, you're like last night, we watched Paddington Bear or something like that, which I got to tell you was surprisingly entertaining and charming. But it's a kid's movie, but it was well written, it was cute, and my wife and I really enjoyed it. And I was totally like, oh God, all right, here we go. But it was really nice.
I heard it's a good true rendition of it, because I grew up with Paddington Bear. With his marmalade sandwiches and his red hat. He grew up. It
was very cute.
Yeah. My parents, that's interesting. My parents were with their grandkids. They watched Sonic the Hedgehog the other day and they loved it. I don't know, so Jim Carrey was in it though. So that, he makes it. He played a bad guy. Can you believe that? What about actors from the 90s and the 60s? I don't know why I'm going in that tangent. There's like Jim Carrey. I love comedies. So Jim Carrey for me was like an amazing comic actor.
Mm-hmm.
He's still around.
Yes.
Thank God. To me, he's iconic. I don't know. I mean, I think that's subjective iconography, isn't it? Or is it?
Yeah.
Or is it objective?
I don't know.
Subjectivity versus objectivity. Your thoughts? A peanut is neither a pea nor a nut. Relax.
I pass. But I mean, but think about who were the big actors of the 60s? I don't even know. Like, I'm not as much of a film guy, so I can't even tell you that. I mean, what do you got? Like Dustin Hoffman or Peter Sellers or
there was the
Robert Redford.
The 60s were terrible for Hollywood movies. There was the golden age, the second golden age when The Godfather,
yes,
and so there was Pacino and the directors like Scorsese and Coppola. You know, they all came from the Southern California USC. Jack Nicholson was a huge actor at the time. Jack still, he's an icon. Jack Nicholson is 100% an icon. So yeah, that's interesting. And the 90s kind of were similar to that as well, because Pulp Fiction came out,
right?
And Tarantino. This is another thing we started to talk about in the forgotten
episode.
Tarantino talks about how there was a similar time to what we're going through now with the political correctness.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just touch on this because I got too much into it. But he talks about how 80s were very politically correct. They were almost a joke, very bubblegum. And then movies like his movie and Reservoir Dogs and other movies started to come out which challenged that, and that made things better, and that's what he thinks is going to happen now with all that stuff.
There's probably some, not surprised. I mean, you think about it, it's
if Tarantino said it, it's got to be true.
You get this burst of fresh creative, right?
Sure.
And then everybody starts to kind of copy it. It becomes formulaic and watered down and watered down and watered down and watered down. Then it's like, then you go through this period of time where everything's like, kind of sucks, and then something breaks through again. So we should be due for some breaking through pretty soon.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
I hope so, yeah. We need some good fresh talent and some good pop culture stuff, and we need
the fresh talent. There's a lot of talent on TikTok. I'm telling you, man. I'm serious. Like, you go on there, you can see some really talented people doing very interesting stuff.
I don't know, man.
It's not movies.
Maybe I'm a snub. So here's the thing. I do respect how these content creators can monetize and get millions of followers and fans, but to me, it's not earned. They created this for themselves, and they're great self-promoters, but is it valid? And there's
some of it is, and some of it is not. Some's not. Some's just, look at me.
Yeah.
And some is like people have really legitimately talented approaches.
There are some good YouTube videos of people watching TikTokers making fun of them. I'm not going to what that is.
We both know who that is. We won't go there.
Those are funny. But what do you like about TikTok? The free form style of it kind of deal?
I think that what I like about it is that there seems to me to be a level of creativity that is above and beyond what I have seen on Facebook and Instagram, even with Instagram Reels.
That's interesting.
I think the very, very notion that it was, a short video type of platform where it's not about images, but like Instagram, but it's video. And I just think that people have really found ways to be uniquely creative. Some people are excessively boring and do the same thing as everybody else, but there are legitimate people out there who've done really nice things with interesting creative angles there that I haven't seen elsewhere. And so I think that it's really cool because A, it's given a lot of people a platform to be creative and express themselves, and B, they're able to do that without having to go through the regular channels.
Is TikTok all short form?
It's 30, 60, or 3 minutes.
30, 60, or 3 minutes.
Yeah, those are
because the clock is going TikToking away.
I guess
that's why it's called TikTok.
We'd have to ask the Chinese. It's their product.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it developed in China?
It's Chinese application.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
No kidding.
Yeah. And they've got all these crazy algorithms. And actually, the algorithms I almost don't like, because the algorithms...
Scary.
Well, they serve you the things... It's like a Spotify playlist. Well, I like this song, so you must like that. So with TikTok, it's kind of the same. They start serving you up like-minded stuff, which I feel like it leads you into a particular direction that it's very difficult to get out of. So sometimes I have to set it down.
Right.
And kind of sort of let it refresh itself a little bit. Otherwise, you just start seeing a lot of the same.
Yeah, things. I try to like YouTube. I try to mix it up as much as I can. I'm using more of the is this video relevant to you button and clicking on no, it is not, and then gets rid of it, and then it kind of resets whatever it's thinking of me, whatever the algorithm thinks of Darren Franks, it kind of changes its mind. So, wow, we have to argue with algorithms now. Isn't that crazy? You know, we have to.
You got to try and outsmart them a little bit.
Yeah,
like, you're not leading me in the right direction.
Yeah. But that is scary, though. That people are influenced by a computer.
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, and particularly in this day and age where we're just so divisive, and there's like these, you know, competing narratives, if you will, that if you've got that going on organically, and at the same time technology is enhancing that into the digital realm, it's no wonder why some people get so pissed off online, you know, arguing and screaming and yelling at each other on social media, because it's like they're constantly being stimulated. I mean, every time I open up Twitter, I get irritated. I'm like, oh,
really?
And I'm sure somebody else does for different reasons. And I have to say, like, okay, dude, you don't need to. You know, it's Sunday morning. You don't need to look at Twitter.
It's like road rage. You got to say to yourself, okay, you know what? Whatever. Let it go. Breathe. Patience 007. You know, just
take it easy.
Take it easy. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. At the end of the day, it means nothing. It's like, just have fun. Social media started as a fun way to interact with people, and now it's changed the world, arguably. You know, so people didn't really know what it was at first, and people still don't know what it is. It's a constantly evolving thing. I find the change to Meta, the name change to Meta from Facebook, interesting. That's probably to, you know, distance themselves away from the negative press they've been getting.
Well, it's a little bit of that, but it's also them, you know, their attempt to, you know, plant their flag in this new technology. And I think people think that the metaverse is only going to be created by Facebook. There's going to be multiple metaverses, right? Absolutely. They're just trying to sort of make their claim to it.
Absolutely.
And
that sounded anti-capitalist of me. But I think because the same thing happened to Google the same thing has happened to Microsoft. Isn't that interesting that when these companies start to get big, they're questioned and they have to change a few things? Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, because there's got to be some accountability for these big corporations.
Well, they all go through different, you know, at different evolutionary stages. And you know, Facebook is in one, and this, you know, this metaverse technology, it's coming. It's going to be a part of people's lives.
Sure.
I hope that I hope for some people it just is something that they just enjoy. It's just for fun, and people don't get carried away with it, but they will.
Right.
And you know, but you know, even us, you know, we're going to have to continue to evolve and figure out, you know.
It's all about the individual. How you respond. You know, you can't place, you know, the responsibility on the shoulders of the big overriding anything. You gotta take some individual
technology, not companies. It's our responsibility. Like
I saw. Do you watch Real Sports? You know, Real Sports was built with Bryant Gumbel on HBO. It's a documentary, investigative journalism about sports, and they were talking about how gambling, because you know the Supreme Court ruling in 2018 left it to the individual states to make online gambling legal. So now it's blown up. And they were talking about how, you know, the owners of these teams used to be opposed to sports betting, and now they love it because they're greedy, and people are suffering because of it, and this and that and the other. And they had this guy on there who changed his name. He says, "Oh yeah, it's ruined my life." Blah blah blah. Yeah, but I think if he didn't have that problem, he'd probably have another problem. You know, you got to take some personal responsibility for your actions.
Yes.
Sometimes. You can't blame. That's part of maturity. You can't blame everyone else for your problems.
Listen, as an adult, you can choose to have access to whatever you want, whether it's positive or negative, Absolutely. And you have to make good decisions about. Absolutely. Doesn't mean we make the best decisions all the time, but at the end of the day, yes, you have to have personal responsibility,
right,
and make good decisions for yourself, and own up when you're not, and get yourself back on the right course.
But at the same time, isn't technology amazing now? I can just think of I want to watch a movie that I haven't seen in a while. I could just find it. You know, I think about it. I can find it on my phone. I can. It's amazing the amount of content you can watch. Like before, I grew up in England when we had 3 channels, literally 3 channels, and that was it.
We had 3 when I was growing up too.
And right, so. You know,
actually, we had 4 because it was CBS, NBC, ABC, and PBS, the public broadcasting system.
That was it. Yeah.
You know, everything else was, you know,
Now, F the naysayers. I know it makes kids dumber now that they can live in a TV set, but however, I love it, man. How can anyone ever be bored? There's no way to be bored anymore.
Well, no, there isn't. But I think for me, and I kind of want to kind of segue into wrapping up on this topic. And I think that the technology piece, the thing that's so amazing about technology for me is how quickly you can learn anything. Right? Like this whole YouTube University. It's just like anything that you want to know how to do. You don't have to go to some book or, study a course. Like you want to know how to do something. There's 10 people that have made a really great video on here's how to do this. And I just think that is whatever you want to learn about.
Right.
It's just incredible.
You're absolutely
the amount of knowledge that is available
on a more basic level. Like you like I want to know this. Like before you had to go to you had to ask around. You have to do research. You just type it into Google now. You ask it a question and it pops up immediately, and it's beautiful.
I think that's incredible. And so yes, are there negative side effects of big technology? Of course there are, but the amount of intellectual stimulation, I think, that has resulted as this technology has continued to come. I mean, I just can't imagine anything other than the overall level of information and knowledge and access to knowledge has just grown so much in the last 15 to 20 years. And I think that's really remarkable.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So, technology, it's easy to shit on technology from there's this, that, and the other thing, and those things are right, but let's not forget what
happens with any type of when television came around. It's going to melt people's brains, and movie theaters are going to go out of business. By the way, people's brains didn't melt, and there's still movie theaters.
Exactly. These
people
things,
are neurotic.
They kind of revolutionize things for a while and makes everybody think that the whole world is changing. And in some ways it is, and in other ways it isn't. And right now, I just love that anything that I want to learn about or study up on, I mean, you can get up to speed on a topic quickly.
Yes.
The flip side there is
there's a lot of bad information out there.
Well, it's not only that, but sometimes you get used to digesting stuff in such quick doses that to sit down and read a book can be difficult.
I've always had that problem.
I have too, but I still I got 4 books on my nightstand that I'm like, I've kind of started into all of them. And
can you divulge in what they are?
I am okay. So the 4 books on my nightstand are there's a book by Ray Dalio called Principles.
Okay.
Ray Dalio is one of the most successful investors in the world. He created a company called
Sure.
Anyway, really one of the most successful institutional investors. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it. Multi-billionaire.
He's a rich guy that knew how to make money.
Yeah. But like a really well-principled, good human being guy. He's
did it ethically, which is
and really smart. So he wrote a book called Principles that when he was running his company, they had all these written principles that this is how we are. Mm-hmm. Now I'm like in the first half of the book, which is basically him telling his history up until we actually get to the principles. So I've kind of stalled out because I'm like, all right, I just want to skip ahead to the principles part, but I got like 40 more pages to go there. That's one book. The second book is Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life or whatever it is.
But the clean your house, okay.
I've only just, thumbed into that.
He's a fascinating guy. Yeah.
The third book is Klaus Schwab's book. He's the guy who created the what's the group that meets in Davos every year? World Economic Forum.
Okay.
So Klaus Schwab is apparently the evil Antichrist who has basically laid out the plan for the 4th industrial revolution, of which we are apparently experiencing right now, where basically the global economy and global governments are going to take over. Technology is going to overrule people's lives. Nobody's going to have any freedom. Sure. Nobody's going to own anything. At least that's what the freakouts say.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to read this book.
Okay.
And he has a second one it's like the COVID response. And it's basically now like how apparently about how COVID is part of this whole process of re-engineering the world.
All right. Okay.
I've seen enough kooks talk about it that I was like, I just need to read the actual books. So I've started the first one, which is called The 4th Industrial Revolution.
Okay.
but I'm not into like the heart of where he really starts laying out apparently like the super.
You're in the first act, basically. Of these things.
So I'm, those are my 4 books.
Okay, interesting. So, yeah, you didn't have like novels in there, like
no.
Because I if I'm going to get my fiction fix, I'll watch a movie.
Right.
For when the books readings, I want something that's like biographical or interesting or practical. Stephen Covey, the Habits of Highly Effective.
7 Habits of Highly Effective.
Which is a good, interesting. It's also an exercise book, but mind exercises. It helps you organize your thoughts. It's practical knowledge. It's practical advice. Right. So I like anything like that. Anything biographical. Yeah, novels and fiction. I don't get from books per se.
I'll
never read Harry Potter.
No, me neither.
Adults were reading those books. I find that hilarious.
Erin loves them.
I know she does.
She's addicted. I would love to, in my old age, like 75 on.
Right.
Hopefully I got a nice room in the house. Got a fireplace. That's not going to be in Florida.
Right.
Nice cozy room, crackling fireplace, and just, I do hope to spend time reading books. Not all my time, so, there'll be other cool technology and stuff, but.
Do you read the physical books or do you have Kindle?
Books now.
Okay.
I was on the tablet-y thing, and it's not the same. I'm back to books.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, so I don't read, like, I used to love Rolling Stone magazine, but it's not. You read all that crap online now, bits of it, but it's not the same. It's not. Rolling Stone magazine.
I love it.
It's this big, chunky, huge thing. I used
to love it.
Amazing magazine. Yeah, amazing magazine.
No,
now
I'm out now.
Yeah,
it's a little too MSM for me.
Yeah. It's not what it was for sure. Anything like that. There's nothing really like that anymore, in terms of magazines. It's just. Everything's online when it comes to that kind of stuff. Entertainment / newsy, investigative stuff is all online, and it's just not the same. It's like with the CDs and the music revolution. You used to buy them. It was an event. You had the nice artwork, and it's just.
It was more. Listen. We've covered a lot of this, the technology, so much great stuff. But there was something special about getting the new music and having the whole album and listening to it. Or the new issue of whatever magazine that you liked, the new one coming. It was just like, you look forward to going through all of it, and there was great interviews. And I'm with you. But, hey, listen, we're moving on.
But at the same time, pros and cons. It's also great to be able to have the information at your fingertips. So, I don't know. There's room for both.
Yes, Darren.
But I digress.
This was
Namaste.
Maybe not quite as
Zen.
free flowing and off the rails, but certainly
it's much more fun the other way. Let me tell you,
it was a little bit more. No, it wasn't more fun. It was just different.
It was different. Yes,
it was different.
This is more. This is more better. In terms of just putting it out there, we covered the same kind of topics, just in a
lighter fashion.
Yes. So
I've enjoyed both.
Me too, mate.
It's good talking to you.
It's always good talking to you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you,
Darren Franks.
Chris Herman.
I don't even know what I knew what the last episode number was going to be. I don't know. I think this is 73,
70 something.
4. I don't know. Who knows? 70 something. We're getting there.
Aaron, I was just kidding about Harry Potter books. I think they're fantastic. I said that on purpose.
I know. We'll see if she made it to the end. All right, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.